Welcome to a new episode of Books and Beyond from the Winter Park Library, recorded live in the recording studio at the library in beautiful Winter Park, Florida. In Books and Beyond, we have conversations with writers, musicians, artists, presenters, and other contributors. Most of our guests have appeared live at the Winter Park Library or will be presenting soon. We hope you'll subscribe to the Books and Beyond podcast and that you'll stay up to date with library goings-on at winterparklibrary.org/events. That's winterparklibrary.org/events. I'm Michael Werner, and I'll be your host for our interviews. Enjoy the show. Hello out there, library patrons, readers, and smart people everywhere. This is Michael Werner, your host for the Winter Park's Books and Beyond podcast, and we're here in the Winter Park recording studio that's sponsored by the Writer's Block Bookstore. They're the sponsors of this space. And we have a very interesting guest for us today. She's from she's kind of books and beyond. So she does books and she does some other things too. So Becca Schmidt, welcome.
Thank you.
Becca is a yoga instructor. She's a yoga practitioner and an instructor, both. And we'll talk to her about that. And she participates in some events here at the library. So Becca, again, welcome. Welcome to the podcast. Glad to have you.
Absolutely great to be here. And I love that you said smart people everywhere. So I hope even though I'm in the room with you, I'm included in that mix.
You're included. We like smart people. And Becca, just to give you a little heads up, our listeners they're all shapes and sizes and backgrounds. So they're not particularly yoga enthusiasts, but we're going to maybe try to make some of them.
Right. Wait till the end of this interview, and we'll have everybody converted to becoming a yogi.
Becoming. By the way, is that a yoga practitioner is a yogi? Is that true?
Yes. And then a child practitioner is a yogini.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So even a starter yoga aficionado would not be a yogini. Unless they're a kid.
Correct. Okay. Right. And yogi is probably a little bit more slang, here in the Western world. But yeah, you can call people who practice yoga yogis.
Okay. All right.
Sure.
Yogis. So we'll call you Yogi Becca today. Yogi Becca, tell us about your pre-yogi life, where you come from, how you got started, and eventually what led you to yoga. But let's talk a little bit about your background.
I think my favorite story to share is how I became a Florida resident.
Okay.
My family is from Iowa, kind of come from a whole line of farmers. And my dad, at a very early age, straight out of high school at 17 years old, joined the Air Force. Or he might have been 18. But he joined the Air Force and he studied radio communications. And he had an opportunity to, drumroll, move to Cape Canaveral to work in the space industry.
Wow.
Way back. I'm not going to tell you exactly what year that was, but there were still Apollo spacecraft back then. And we moved. I have an identical twin sister.
Wow.
And a big sister. And we're only just kind of Irish. Everybody's sort of Irish twins. We're all very, very close in age. She's just barely 1 year older than us. And we moved to Florida.
Like to Titusville maybe or somewhere around there?
Cocoa Beach.
Cocoa
Beach. Thanks for clarifying that.
That's okay.
No one had ever seen the ocean before. My parents,
Including
my
your dad.
father, well, he had spent a little bit of time overseas, so he had seen the ocean, but not the Florida beaches. And for my mom, it was the very first time she had ever seen anything so grandiose, so beautiful. Mm-hmm. And for us, of course, we were 3 years old and 4 years old, and, it was a new playground for us. It wasn't probably as dramatic as it was for my mom. But we grew up there our first couple of years in Florida, and that was such a magnificent childhood. My school at the time, the elementary school, was called Freedom 7 Elementary School, and we literally had a rocket on our playground.
Wow.
We couldn't climb it.
Yeah.
It was more like a statue, monument.
A real rocket.
A real rocket.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
And my childhood, but some of my most, I guess, viscerally happy childhood memories would be when my dad would call from the Space Center. He would call on the house line and say, we're doing some test rockets, go outside.
Wow. Okay.
And we could see rockets blasting off sort of on a moment's notice.
Wow. What a cool experience.
Amazing. And I've always truly, truly loved the ocean, the beaches, just the way you feel when you're in a place that's so expansive and just, I mean, full of nature, obviously.
Yeah.
That's obvious. But you're just part of
Well,
the
it's
natural
interesting.
experience.
And it's interesting that you talk about this because I sense just in you explaining that you felt a sense of peace
100%.
around the ocean or around the beaches, whatever. And maybe at the time you didn't know it, but maybe you found that same peace in practicing yoga that you found later on in life.
I think so. There's this communication and this understanding of where you fit into the expanse, the natural world and the spiritual world. You feel a part of it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So you're a kid. You're in Florida. Tell us a little bit more about how you progressed in your life.
Both of my parents decided they wanted to go to school. And my dad enrolled at the University of Florida, and then my mom followed suit. She ended up getting her library science degree at FSU. So, but we didn't hold that against her.
Had you moved up to Gainesville or
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, when my dad applied at the University of Florida, we were still little kids.
Okay.
So we moved to Gainesville, and we lived in this built character. Let me just put it that way. We lived in married student housing that were basically World War II barracks.
Yeah.
Including our furniture, where everybody's house had the exact same furniture. Mm-hmm. And we were sort of piled up on top of each other. Our beds were little bunk beds, and those are probably some of the coolest memories as well, because our apartment complex was full of people from all over the world.
Yeah.
Students who had come with their families. So we grew up with kids speaking every language and, different games. They played different games.
Mm-hmm,
they maybe had different songs. And so it was such
different
different
foods.
Certainly different foods. It was very much a multicultural upbringing. And I think that planted a seed. And even today, I just came back from the El Camino. We walked the El Camino.
Oh, my goodness.
I think it's been almost a month since I've been back. And all the friends I'm with are international. I have my Costa Rican, my French friend, my Spanish friends.
Did you go with
French
a group
friends.
here from Florida?
Yeah, but they're all friends.
Right.
They're all international.
Because I have another friend who went on recently. I don't know if you were in the same group or not. I think it was through the Episcopal Church.
Oh, no, ours was just a bunch of friends.
Okay,
We trained
you did it on your own. Okay,
kind of from a fitness and spiritual standpoint for sure. But we did train, and it was.
Which part of the Camino did you do?
We went on the Finisterre, so it was from Santiago de Compostela to the coastline, to the western coast of Spain, and we ended up
end of the earth, right? End of land. Yeah.
Yes, the end. What used to be the drop-off point. I suppose.
Right, where we drop off. Right.
This is where our world ends,
Right.
and the ocean world begins, and who knows, where it drops off. But then we walked up to a beautiful place along the western coast called Musha, and that was spectacular. It's one of the most famous lighthouses, I guess, in Europe, and it was pretty amazing.
Wonderful. Okay, so that's a little sidetrack, but that's good too. Yeah, but that's good.
So Gainesville was great. I went pretty much through all, middle school, high school years in Gainesville. And then I went away to school for 2 years for college and then came right back to the University of Florida.
So you're a Gator.
I'm a Gator.
You're a Gator.
Go
okay.
Gators.
Go Gators. Okay. All right. So, and then you got out of college and you decided to become a yogi.
No.
Okay. What happened?
No. I graduated with a broadcast production degree.
Okay.
And I was actually, it was a wonderful experience. I don't know whether I just decided not to be popular in college, but I had 3 jobs in college, worked very hard, and 2 of the jobs were in the broadcast field.
Okay.
So
They're on campus or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
at WFT.
Okay.
So I worked at the radio station, and then I also worked at the university information office. And I had 2 of the most wonderful mentors ever. I mean, they let me make so many mistakes. I tripped on cords. I forgot to hit record during an interview. I'll never forget. That was like you know how you have these big mistakes in life?
Sure,
and
sure.
they attach to you?
Sure.
Yeah, we did a full half-hour interview.
And you weren't recording.
And I had not recorded. I wasn't conducting the interview.
Well, you're making me look at the computer here. I want to make sure we're recording here. And we are, I think so.
I had exactly one job, and that was to hit record play.
And you didn't do that.
it.
Yeah. But they didn't fire you.
No, all the grace in the world was bestowed on me in those days. And then I had my first job out of college was at one of the smallest television stations in the universe, Panama City, Florida.
Okay.
And again, I had wonderful, incredible mentors there, and they gave me opportunities. They gave me this opportunity on the weekend to direct the 6 a.m. fishing show.
Aha.
What about that opportunity?
Yeah, well, there you go. That's an opportunity. Yeah.
But I learned how to run sound. I learned how to run some of the master control operations because I was the only one.
Yeah.
So I had to be a jack of all trades, which was so beneficial to go on.
Okay, and then so keep going. What
I
happened?
stayed there a year because even back then the pay was it was awful. It was I think I made $11,000 a year, and so then I had an opportunity to come back to Orlando, and I said, I'm going to be one of the videographers or producers at SeaWorld. I've always loved SeaWorld.
Okay.
Maybe my ocean
Yeah,
background
there
has made me real excited about all the things that they do. I still am a big fan about all the rescues and things. So I said, I'll just become one of their big videographers, and I'll, produce everything there. And I got there and I applied for the job, and they said, wait in line. We have about 500 applicants for that job.
Whoa.
So I said, well, what else do you have? And I was offered a tour guide position. And I said, sure. That's my way into the photography department.
Sure.
So I spent about 9 months as a tour guide and loved every minute of that job because I learned a lot. And I'm somebody who was a voracious, information seeker.
Yeah.
So I learned every fact and figure about penguins, sharks, whales, fish, birds. But that was right up my alley. And then very soon after that, there was a position open in the publicity department. So I spent about 12 years in PR.
Okay, all at SeaWorld.
Yeah,
okay.
And education as well. I transferred over to working on some of the publications and some of the school curriculum and eventually the website.
Okay, that sounds like fascinating work.
It was wonderful.
Yeah, but somewhere along the way here, yoga enters your life, right?
Yes.
Has it entered it yet, or not quite yet?
No, it did enter it right during my SeaWorld days, and I also love to tell that story.
Okay.
Because as a publicist, I had made my way to senior publicist. It was a very stressful job. I was always on call, and I had to, in the broadcast industry, it's always 3, 2, 1, go. And so I was, even though I was not a broadcaster, I was on the other end providing the information. But still, we were on that sort of schedule. We had to meet a lot of deadlines and coordinate so many interviews or do the interviews ourselves. So my stress level was very high. And I started doing yoga at the YMCA down near SeaWorld.
Okay.
It was, I think back then it was called the Justice Aquatic Center.
Okay, yes.
And it was a YMCA property or joint
Affiliation,
venture.
yeah.
Exactly. And I went to the yoga classes, and it was almost like life-saving. And I remember being in my office at SeaWorld, and right around 3 o'clock, all I could think of was, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to get to yoga. I got to lower this stress level. So it was something that was in my mind a lot. I was just thinking about it. And I would go to class, and I just felt very aligned with the practice of yoga and how it affected me from a stress reduction standpoint, but also the other attributes, the music, the teaching itself, and again, learning new poses, and sometimes learning some yoga vocabulary. I just found that very fascinating.
And did you get introduced to yoga just something you did it yourself, or you had a friend that was doing it, or how did you even know about it? I mean,
I did have a friend who took me to my very first yoga class was along with her. We went to a little tiny community center in Gotha, Florida, which is near Windermere. I don't know if all of our listeners know where Gotha is, but the teacher there was brilliant. And hopefully a lot of our listeners will know what Warrior Two pose is. So it's a strength pose for the legs for the most part, but you also have your arms stretched out to the sides. And she kept us in that pose a ridiculously long time. And I remembered my legs just burning. But then there was this amazing clarity. And she was a really wonderful teacher. She said, look out over your right fingertips and imagine something in your future. You're pointing to your future. And
while you're in this pose.
While we're in that pose. And actually, there's a very strong reference to ancient yoga philosophy. In that pose, it's the pose of Arjuna, who is struggling literally on the battlefield, whether he goes forward or retreats and goes backwards. So the arms are very significant in that pose.
Yeah.
And it's a mental struggle, it's a physical struggle. And I remember just feeling like this is one of the most powerful things I've done in a really long time. So the seed was planted because I could feel the effect on every level, emotional, spiritual. Everything was shifted and moved by that experience. So I started going to classes, and then this is kind of my personality. I went to a lot of classes, and I kept editing it in my mind. And I've always loved the editing process. That's always been part of the favorite part of being in journalism.
In this case, how you would be doing the class differently if you were teaching? Is it
100%?
Yeah.
100%. Well, I would use different music. Well, I'd have us in that pose longer. Well, I would do this sequence differently in my own head, which is, it's probably pretty obnoxious for me to have done that, but I think you
were doing it with yourself, right? I mean,
I would not
you
share.
You weren't announcing an outside class. Come, let me tell you the way this class ought to really be taught. Right?
Yeah, gather around, one and all. No, I never did that, but I did feel like I could do this. So.
And then what happened? You said, I could do this.
I moved to Arizona with my fiance.
Okay.
Who I met in Orlando. He was actually stationed in Phoenix, Arizona. So I moved out there, one-way ticket.
Okay.
Which has always been one of my pieces of advice for women, very much so, is buy yourself a one-way ticket, girl. Just do it. Leap before you think. I think that's the name of a book.
Yeah.
Leap before you think.
Well, if it isn't, it should be.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Okay.
So when we got married, and I had a job at the Arizona Republic there, which I really enjoyed, and then I worked for Habitat for Humanity as well.
Is that a newspaper, Arizona Republic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very large. It kind of covers the whole state.
In Phoenix?
Yeah.
In Phoenix. Yeah.
And then I transitioned into Habitat for Humanity, where I was the volunteer director there. I loved that work. And then I had a baby. And I said, I think I'm done with high stress work. I think I'm done with media, and I think I'm done with volunteer management, because that in itself can be,
Yeah.
if there's anyone out there who does volunteer management, kudos to you, because that is a very difficult job. And I went to yoga school when my son was a teeny, teeny, bitty, bitty little thing.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband.
So you took a one-way ticket?
One-way ticket to Phoenix, lived there, had some jobs.
I mean, one-way ticket to yoga school.
One-way ticket to yoga school, and trained 7 months training at the Southwest Institute of Healing Arts, and became a yoga instructor.
And where is that institute?
That's in Phoenix.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whoa, Becca! That means it's a special time for us. That the crowd is asking for this. Well, the cloud and the crowd is asking for this. It's time for a rapid fire Q&A. This is a chance for anybody who hasn't listened to a rapid fire Q&A here on our podcast to get to know you as a person just a little bit better. We're going to throw some questions at you. If you don't want to answer them, just say.
I feel like I've already told my life story, but let's go.
Well, we're gonna find some things here. What's a character trait that you admire in others?
Honesty and a sense of humor. I hope that's a character trait.
Sure.
So
Okay.
those two.
Good. If you hadn't followed this career path, from media into yoga, what do you think you might have done?
I think I would have been on the animal rescue team somewhere.
Okay.
SeaWorld or somewhere else. I would like to have been somebody who could rescue animals.
What advice would you give to your 20-year-old self?
Whew. Take a yoga class.
Okay. Because your first yoga class, you were considerably older than 20, right?
Yeah. We want to watch those words.
Considerably older? You were older than 20 when you took your first one.
I'm kidding.
Yeah. This is a fill in the blank. Success is?
Inner joy.
Another fill in the blank. I should have?
That's a hard one. I just feel like I don't have a lot of should-haves in my life.
Okay.
I'm very at peace with pretty much everything.
Okay, nice. Do you have a morning ritual? And if so, would you share it with us?
It starts with coffee.
Okay.
Actually, it starts with a really nice glass of water and maybe some salt in there just to rehydrate over the night. But I really enjoy having a cup of coffee and meditation, certainly. And I love to curl up with a book, even if it's half an hour or even less than that. And I go outside a lot. I go out on my back porch, and it usually starts with just some reflection and peace and just inviting in the senses, listening and looking and just enjoying how it feels out there.
Very nice. Are you an early riser?
Yes.
That wasn't one of the questions. That's just my question
am.
now. Yeah, okay.
I am.
We're going to talk about books in detail in a little bit, so we won't get into that now. But do you have a favorite author that you look for? Fiction, nonfiction?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm such a big fan of so many people. Right now I'm reading Mitch Albom's latest book. It's called Twice. It's a time travel book. So I read, I don't know. Mitch Albom usually does, I forget how, he's kind of famous for the number of pages. It's like maybe 300 or something. It's not very thick, but they're very thought-provoking. So I would say he's up there at the top. I love Kristen Hanna. I like to explore different authors.
Okay.
You know, if it's something that's not catching my attention, I DNF it. You know, I just do not finish.
Right.
So
right.
But I rarely DNF a book.
That was hard for me, by the way, because I never could do that. Stop reading a book, because I think it was from my parents and my teachers, and it's like, you got to finish this book. You got to finish this book. And I would struggle with some books. And I said, what am I doing? And I have a pile of the to be read books waiting for me.
Right.
And you just, I don't know. I'm okay now. I'm okay. I released that.
I think it's that sort of mindset. Finish everything on your plate.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's guilt around that.
Yeah. I think so. Last one for you. We could go on forever with these, but the last one for you, so we get back to your story, and because we want to talk about yoga here at the library. If you could go anywhere for and it's all paid for, expenses paid, everything's paid. for a 1-hour shopping spree,
Oh, gosh.
where would that be?
I think I'd go back to Spain. Spain's on my mind. And I think I would shop for wonderful foods.
Okay.
I might want somebody to walk me through a wine shop and maybe just vegetables, some of the wonderful foods of Spain. That's what I would.
Last year, my wife and I took a private, an individual in Barcelona. We took a private walking tour through some of the markets, and it was just incredible.
There you go.
It was fantastic.
There you go.
One of
That's
the
what
best
I would
things we've
do.
ever done. Yeah,
I'd go to
yeah.
Barcelona.
Yeah. Okay, back to the Becca story. Okay, thank you for participating in our rapid
my
fire
pleasure.
Q&A. So you're just now getting into yoga. You are thinking about becoming a teacher of yoga. At what when did that happen, and how did that happen?
Well, really soon after I graduated from the yoga teacher training program, which I think is one of the best in the United States. It's has instructors that they handpick from a different yoga lineage. You know, there's if anybody practices yoga, that you'll recognize some of the names, but like Iyengar, different styles of yoga that we were exposed to. And they also taught us something that I think a lot of yoga schools should teach more of, and that is to go explore, because there's definitely one size fits all does not apply to practicing yoga. You have to find the parts of yoga that moves you and that just creates a shift for you. So I was really exposed to so many different types of yoga, styles of yoga, different props, different I was able to explore a lot of what I wanted to do. So then I graduated from that. We moved to Florida. It was our time to move back, for me anyway, because we had a baby.
Yeah, a kid
and
now.
yeah. And I'm lucky to live in a neighborhood that was open to having a community yoga instructor. So I said, oh, here I am.
Here in Orlando.
I've arrived.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
okay.
So I've taught in my community for 20 years, and I've taught in my own community, but also expanding out to, I teach for the Crosby Wellness Center right now, which is part of the Center for Health and Wellbeing.
Yes.
And that has led me to programs here at the library, which have been wonderful.
And I'm guessing you've taught a lot of classes.
I've taught more than 10,000 classes.
10,000? 10,000 classes?
Yep.
Whoa. And you still are teaching.
I still am teaching. I've evolved my teaching to mentoring other teachers now. That's a big part of what I love doing, is helping teachers be confident on the mat, and also having content. And when you have good, strong content, you can go out there and teach a class. And I tell them what I've learned over the years, the mistakes I've made, the lessons, and then I'm hoping to take my 20 years, almost 21 years experience and say, okay, well, here's some short, I've done this for 20 years. Maybe you can learn some of the things I've learned in the past 10 in your first year of teaching. And I'll, hopefully then that'll give them a little head start and they won't make all the mistakes I made.
Now, do you focus primarily today on teaching teachers? Yoga teachers?
No,
Yoga
it's a small part of my current business. My
Okay.
business is called Blue Moon Yoga, but
Okay.
I do a lot of private sessions. I do small groups. I love teaching small groups that oh yeah, wouldn't it be fun if we had lakeside yoga?
Yeah.
So I love doing those just because they're just fun. They're different, and I can customize. I think maybe that journalism / editor part of me and the researcher part of me says, yeah, let's customize. Let's have a theme and let's make it really appropriate for this group rather than a one size fits all.
And somewhere along the line here, you got involved with podcasting.
Yes,
So I believe you have your own podcast.
I do.
What is it called?
It's called The Language of Yoga.
Language of Yoga. Okay.
And I think that's where
And we can find that on Apple Podcasts or
Apple,
Spotify.
Spotify, exactly.
Okay.
And that's where I really get into teaching teachers because it is geared toward teachers.
Okay.
I interview successful teachers, but I've also interviewed musicians who do specialized music for yoga classes. I interviewed a paddleboard yoga teacher, kids yoga teacher.
You mean doing yoga on paddle boards?
Yeah, that's a
Whoa.
thing.
I have a hard time just standing on a paddle board.
Yeah.
I can't imagine doing yoga on a paddle board.
Well, you don't have to do anything too crazy, but if you think about how those two disciplines really marry well, balance, serenity,
Sure.
just that peacefulness.
The water, right,
yeah,
yeah,
nature, being in nature.
Yeah.
So they go together very, very well.
Okay. So to become a yoga teacher, does somebody have to follow a certain curriculum, or how does that happen?
Yes. Oh, thank you for asking that question. There is a alliance. It's called Yoga Alliance. It's actually it's a nonprofit that just keeps you on track with your training. You have to submit the courses, the certified education courses that you take to stay up to speed on changes in the industry.
Okay.
You have to have a certain amount of anatomy, a certain amount of yoga philosophy, and just a certain criteria. And you can have like a 200-hour certification, which typically takes up to 6, 7, sometimes longer months. Then you can have a 500-hour certification, and then you can go way, way, way beyond. And that's kind of my category. I'm beyond the 500-hour certification. And then I have a certification to teach other teachers and give them accreditation.
Okay.
So, and it's recommended that you get 10 hours of continuing education a year.
Okay. Very good. We're at the health fair, and there's practitioners of all kinds of things are there. Okay. And you're womaning the yoga booth. Okay. And I'm wondering tell me the benefits of yoga. Why do I want to get involved with yoga just as a student?
I'll be honest with you. The first thing I do is listen.
Okay.
And I say, how do you feel? And what are some of the...
I'm tired all the time, Becca.
Yes.
I'm just tired.
Yeah, we just have a conversation.
Yeah.
And then I sometimes enter my own testimony first, short, sweet, concise. But I'll say, the thing that yoga has really helped me with is having a strong back. And sometimes it's cued by maybe what is obvious, maybe they say, I have a lot of neck pain. Then I'll say, yoga can be very beneficial for neck pain. And let's try a pose. So I like to have them try in small doses.
Okay.
It depends. Some people have done a lot of yoga or a lot of meditation.
Right.
So you might enter through that doorway.
Okay.
You just find the doorway that seems most accessible for them. So listening first.
Okay, good. Now, you're involved here at the library, at the Winter Park Public Library. And by the way, this gives me a chance to do our commercial, which is for all the events that happen here at the library. If you go to, as a listener, if you go to winterparklibrary.org/events, you'll see all the things that are going on here at the library. And what's amazing here, Beck, and you probably know this because you're involved with the library, is there are, in most months, there's over 100 events here at the library.
Yeah,
Everything,
it's impressive.
Kids, adults, authors, yoga instructors, musicians. It just goes on. I like to call it the Winter Park University because it's so diverse and so interesting. And like I'm coming to an event this evening. It was a historical thing, and it appealed to me. So how did you get involved with the library, and what do you do here at the library?
Well, I'll make
as an instructor,
a short answer and a long answer. Well, as a semi-long answer, I have been coming here since my son was 2.
Okay.
And I'm just a huge fan of the Winter Park Library. I can't even begin to tell you how much I love this place. And as of late, in the past 3 years, my work with the Center for Health and Wellbeing, specifically the fitness portion, which is Crosby Wellness,
Yes.
I've had the opportunity to be.
And for anybody who's not aware of that's over by what was the Winter Park Hospital. I think it's now Advent Health.
Right, Lake Mizell.
Lake Mizell. Okay. Sorry,
Right,
go
and
ahead.
it's a absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, it's gorgeous. I swim over there, so I'm familiar with it. It's a beautiful facility.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
I love
just
going there.
like if you're going to have a fitness home base, that is it. It's
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful. And then, of course, the wellness center also includes Bricks and Bowls restaurant. It includes a lot of our own programming. We have a ton of programs there as well.
Yeah.
Cooking classes, fitness classes, things specific for seniors. We have a baby bunch class. We had recently I took a class on dreams. It was a 4-part series on the interpretation of dreams.
So it's another campus in the Winter Park University system.
Yes, it really is, and it's a wonderful place to work as well. So I was contracted to come out and do some programs here at the library.
Okay.
A monthly, essentially monthly program for the patrons.
Okay, and what are some of those, and how do they work, and what do you do at those? What does a participant do at those sessions?
Yeah, so we invite them to bring their own yoga mat, and every month.
All levels?
All levels, yeah. Thank you for asking that. Not a lot of children because there is, again, one size fits all. It doesn't necessarily work when you have maybe adults with some particular needs, maybe an adult who cannot even get, from the ground, from their mat.
So I could stay on a chair if I need to?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think not to, brag or anything, but I can teach, 5 to 10 different levels of yoga at the same time.
Wow, okay.
But, for different contraindications. Somebody who can't hear well, somebody who can't see well, somebody who has, severe back pain or, all kinds of contraindications. But children kind of put it in a different category because you don't have the same directional cues necessarily.
Sure.
And kids are more short-term attention span and they want action, songs, playfulness, and that's not really what necessarily you offer adults, with a few exceptions.
So your sessions here at the library, the way I understood it is you focus on a particular topic.
Yes.
And he says, so give me some examples of what you've done or what you plan to do.
The last one I taught here was Yoga for Happiness. And Yoga for Happiness, it sounds like, well, what on earth do you bring in there? But Jeremy here, who is my liaison in that program.
And Jeremy is a public services librarian here at the library.
He's amazing.
He's amazing. And he's also the editor of our podcast, the producer and editor of our podcast. We like to call him the vice president of podcast productions.
I love it.
That's his unofficial title. So
I love it.
Yeah.
So Jeremy will pull books that are pertinent to the program. So the last one we did on happiness, we had like Thich Nhat Hanh and even some kids' books in there in case some of the participants have a child in their life. And they can actually just say, I'm going to go down to the, checkout desk and check out these books, which I think is very exciting. I like to integrate reading with practicing yoga. And then the poses themselves, let's say in the happiness class, would be poses that where we look up a lot. We open the heart literally with expanding the arms out to the side and create more space through the lungs, to the heart, and just sort of evoke joy. And I might tell maybe a few more jokes, and then the sound, the music list, the playlist is going to be maybe more up-tempo music.
Okay, so we have music. I didn't realize that. Okay.
I use music in my classes. Occasionally, if I teach a large outdoor class, the music will be one. My favorite is when I can bring in a musician live. I'm looking over at Jeremy. He's a musician. I'm like, collaboration. No, they're when you have live music outside, it's such a different type of class.
But are your classes here indoors though?
The classes here at the library are indoors.
Okay.
And so then I also had I have one coming up around the holidays, two actually, one in November and one
Okay.
in December. And
And do you recall offhand what those topics are?
yes, the November class is Yoga for Calm, and that is probably going to be very grounding. We're going to have poses, most likely just kind of lying low, nothing bouncy, nothing
Mm-hmm.
too crazy. It's just going to be helping your nervous system feel relaxed and calm, and maybe learning some tools as well
So
on how
maybe
to
it
calm.
involves some meditation in that as well. But I guess meditation's involved in all aspects of
Always.
the yoga. Yeah.
I always start my classes with arrival. And the arrival period is typically no music or just some really slow acoustic music. And it's allowing yourself not to jump in. You allow yourself to ease in. So you sort of slip in.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, you can think about a wave coming in.
Mm-hmm.
The tide is kind of coming in. And we might even use a visual. Sometimes I do a gentle guided meditation there. And it's not real long, it might be 3 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
but it allows your brain to leave as much as you can outside the room.
Right.
That's
right.
why I call it arriving, like making space, like let go of what might be on your mind. It'll come back. You'll be able to deal with all of that in an hour. But for now, for the next hour, let some of that go and let the things that are happening in your senses maybe get bigger. Like if we use a scent, you allow the scent to become more prominent in your mind, the sound of the music or the sound of your breath.
Mm-hmm.
So you let them arrive a little bit bigger.
Okay.
Yeah, and hopefully those things will stay. And then after you are ready to roll up your mat and leave the classroom, hopefully some of that calm will stay with
We'll stay
you.
with you. Yeah.
And what's outside won't seem so big and dramatic and, urgent.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully, if you start doing this on a regular basis, it stays with you longer and longer.
100%.
Yeah.
And then you develop a practice that where you can, one of my pieces of advice for people who say, I just can't meditate. My mind is too busy. I'm the only one in the world who can't sit still. Well, like you and most other people
Yeah.
come to me with that. I just can't. I fidget. I can't
Mm-hmm.
stay still. I say, well, when you get in your car, just sit there. No radio, no ignition, unless it's a super hot day. You have permission to turn the air on, but just breathe. Give yourself 5 breaths. Do that almost anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you arrive somewhere, give yourself time to maybe just stand near a wall or even sit in a chair or check in with yourself, check in with your 5 senses, check in with your energy level, do a body scan, and don't take with you what you don't need. If your body scan tells you that your shoulders are super tight and you've got something else going on that's going to affect you in your meeting or your work day or your drive,
Mm-hmm.
do what you can to let that go. If your shoulders feel tight, move them around, roll your shoulders, move your head. So there are so many things, and meditation really is just that focused attention.
Mm-hmm.
That's what meditation is focused attention and
Okay,
focused
interesting.
awareness.
Okay.
So we can do it all day long.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't have to light a candle and look at an altar
and go to
and
class and yeah.
no, we don't have to do meditation that way at all.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
can do it in bits and pieces.
And the one you're doing here in November, Yoga for Calm, do you happen to know the date of that?
Of course I do.
Okay.
It's November 20th.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
at
again,
noon.
you can sign up for this on the website at the library, winterparklibrary.org/events,
Yes.
and look for this event and sign up for it, or
Yeah.
any other event that you want. And you can look for Becca's forthcoming sessions that way as well too.
Right. And
she
I
does about once a month.
exactly. And I post these on my own website too. It's bluemoon.yoga.
Okay. And
So-
is that the best way for somebody to contact you personally?
Yeah.
Is through
Exactly.
that website? Okay.
Absolutely.
Becca, you brought some books with you. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about them because we're in the library.
Yes.
Tell us about the books you brought with you and your library story / book collection story.
Oh, thank you. You're my kind of host here. Well, okay, I didn't mention that. I mentioned my mother has a master's of science in library. She worked in periodicals.
Okay.
Actually.
Okay.
And then my stepmom as well is a librarian. They're both
Wow.
librarians.
Okay.
And at the University of Florida, very often,
So Dad likes
my
book women.
third job, my third job was shelving books at the library.
Okay.
So, and I've volunteered at my son's school, so I know how to shelve all kinds of library. Dewey Decimal and Library of Congress, whichever one you want me to shelve, I can do that. So the books I brought with me today are kind of some of my go-to books.
Okay.
One of them is The Stories Behind the Poses.
Okay.
And as teachers sort of advance or they maybe find something that they really enjoy teaching, I recommend this book a lot because so many of the yoga poses are named after the great stories in yoga. So, and the Indian goddesses and gods. Hanuman is the monkey god, and there's some beautiful poses that involve Hanuman, but it's nice to be able to talk about, why is it called that?
Okay.
And Hanuman is actually like a cheerleader split. You can do half Hanuman, but Hanuman was famous for leaping the great mountains to save a friend. So it's about urgency, it's about friendship, it's about loyalty. So all of the poses who are named after, the gods and goddesses have a reason for them. And it gives the yoga teacher an opportunity for what's called a Dharma talk. We can talk about why this is part of the yoga lore, but it's also, the yoga philosophy that applies here in 2025.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So it's still applicable.
Yeah. Okay. And you have other books?
Yes. So the other one that really is definitely a go-to book is called The Heart of Yoga by BKS Desikachar. And he, one of the reasons I like it is because it is full of historical photographs. His whole family is from the yoga tradition. So he has pictures of himself as a little kid with his uncle, Krishnamacharya. So it shows kind of his upbringing, and it's his own personal story.
Okay.
And then he also tells yoga teachers why it's important to understand yoga philosophy and not just go through the motions.
Okay.
And if I was to suggest to any yoga teacher out there is understand the whys
behind the poses.
Okay.
Okay.
Because there is a why.
Yeah.
And even if you teach yoga from more of a physicality or anatomical, maybe you're maybe you have a background in physical therapy or a medical background or nursing. Maybe your forward messaging is the physicality, which is great. Or maybe you are a counselor. We have mental health counselors who teach yoga, so that might be more kind of on that emotional level. But then there's this whole gigantic spiritual end of yoga, which is daunting. It's very difficult to read, like the Yoga Sutras, because it's ancient. It's more than 2,000 years old. So it's hard to understand that if you just try to read the sutras. So another book my last one I'll talk about is the core of the Yoga Sutras, which just gives you sort of the 21st century interpretation of some of the sutras, and it explains the sutras are the laws of yoga.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Becca, we're going to wrap up.
I know I can talk.
No,
Can
no,
I?
no. I think we want to have you back. We'll have you back for round 2 down the road here and see.
I'll talk about my personal yoga library, which is ridiculous.
There you go. I would like to hear more about that. Well, thank you very much for coming today. Would you like to leave us with anything? You're closing up the yoga lesson today. Is there anything you'd like to leave us with as we close up our session today?
Yoga is accessible to everyone.
Okay.
And especially if you look at it not just being the flexibility of the body, but you also look at it as flexibility and opportunity, capacity. I love that word, capacity of your brain, your spiritual connection, your well-being.
Okay.
Yoga can really help you feel well on so many levels.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. Well, again, I'd like to invite everybody to get to know Becca here at the library or her personally through her website, which is Blue Moon Yoga, you said?
Mm-hmm. Bluemoon.yoga.
Bluemoon.yoga. And again, thanks you very much for coming to see us today.
It was such a pleasure. Thank you.
Hope to see you around the library. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Books and Beyond from the Winter Park Library. This podcast would not be possible without the generous help and support from the library staff, and especially from Jeremy Zorn. Jeremy's official title is Public Services Librarian, but he does many things here at the library, including producing this podcast. We can't do this without you, Jeremy. Our theme music is from the song Don't Go by Bovine Joe and the Buffalo Herd. That's Herd spelled H-E-A-R-D. We hope you'll let your friends and others know about this podcast and that you'll come by the library for one of our offerings, which you can find at winterparklibrary.org/events. That's winterparklibrary.org/events. If you have questions or suggestions for the podcast or just want to talk about Books and Beyond, please send an email to podcast@winterparklibrary.org. That's an email to podcast@winterparklibrary.org. Remember that the Winter Park Library promotes the free and open exchange of ideas and does not attempt to control or take responsibility for any opinions that may be expressed in this podcast. Opinions expressed in this podcast do not constitute or imply an endorsement or a reflection of the library's policies or beliefs. This is Michael Werner, wishing you well until our next episode of Books and Beyond.